This is a village love story titled The King's Choice. A village love that shook a kingdom. In the quiet kingdom of Umudike, tradition ruled more than any crown could. And in that tradition, a law was carved into history. No man shall sit upon the throne unless he takes a wife before the harvest moon of his coronation year. Obinna, the newly crowned king of Umudike, was young, educated, and beloved. He had returned from the city to ascend the throne after his father's death. But unlike past kings, he had no queen, only his sense of duty. The elders grew restless. The harvest moon was approaching. Women from noble families paraded themselves before him, daughters of chiefs, princesses from allied clans. But none moved his heart. He spent most of his days quietly, walking the palace gardens or visiting the village square in disguise. One evening, while watching the palace maids clean the courtyard, he noticed her. Amara, slender, graceful, with eyes that mirrored the moonlight. She worked with quiet elegance, singing folk songs as she swept the steps. She wasn't royalty. She wasn't even noticed by many. But to Obinna, she glowed. Curiosity turned to longing. Obinna began finding reasons to pass by the maid quarters. One morning, he left his staff of office on the garden bench so he'd have an excuse to return, and saw Amara again. "Have you seen my staff?" he asked, although he knew exactly where it was. Amara looked at him, surprised. "I think you left it by the hibiscus tree, Your Majesty." He smiled. "Ah, that's why the flowers seemed brighter." She giggled. And just like that, a spark ignited. He began speaking to her in secret, midnight strolls by the palace pond, early morning chats before the rooster crowed. She was gentle but smart, bold in thoughts but humble in speech. "Why do you talk to me, my king?" she asked one night, her voice barely above a whisper. Obinna looked into her eyes. "Because when I talk to you, I remember who I am. Not just the king, the man." But whispers began to circulate. A palace guard saw them. A jealous noblewoman stirred the gossip, and soon the elders summoned him. "You cannot choose a maid for a queen," they warned. "The ancestors will reject it." Torn between love and duty, Obinna tried to pull away. He avoided Amara for days. She noticed. Her song stopped. Her laughter faded. The queen mother called for her. "You must leave the palace. The king cannot ruin himself for you." With a heavy heart, Amara packed her things and returned to her father's hut at the edge of the kingdom. Obinna, watching from the palace tower, felt his chest tighten. The village rejoiced when news spread that the king would marry Princess Adaobi from a wealthy neighboring clan. The wedding was set to take place in 5 days, just in time for the harvest moon, but Obinna was dying inside. He sat by the shrine of his ancestors, confused and desperate. How can I lead a people when I cannot even choose what my heart desires? That night, he dreamed of his late father, who told him, "A king who denies his heart denies his kingdom. Choose love, and the land shall prosper." On the morning of his wedding, Obinna called off the ceremony. Gasps echoed across the village square. Princess Adaobi stormed out of the palace in fury. The elders threatened to strip him of the throne, but Obinna stood firm. "I would rather lose the crown than marry a lie." He rode out of the palace gates alone and found Amara fetching water by the stream. She dropped her clay pot when she saw him. "I couldn't marry her," he said, breathless. "Not when my heart beats only for you." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "But I am only a maid." "No," he said, taking her hands. "You are my queen." He took her back to the palace. The kingdom buzzed with shock, protest, and slowly, awe. The coronation of Queen Amara was nothing like the village had ever seen. She wore a gown of woven gold and coral beads, but her humility outshone them all. At first the chiefs scoffed, but Amara, with her kindness, wisdom, and understanding of the common people, began to win their hearts. She initiated food-sharing festivals, rebuilt the rundown village school, and listened to both nobles and farmers with equal patience. Under King Obinna and Queen Amara, Umudike flourished. Love had not destroyed the kingdom, it had rebuilt it. During the next harvest moon, the people danced under the stars, chanting, "He chose with his heart, and the gods smiled." Years later, elders told tales of the king who defied tradition for love, and the maid who rose to be a queen, not by blood, but by the strength of her heart.